Welcome to the podcast With All Your Mind, hosted by me, Rachel Grimm. We're here to help understand the Bible with cultural and historical context, linguistic info, and other cool stuff. Enjoy. All right, good afternoon, guys. This is Rachel, and this is With All Your Mind. And we're back again for, guess what? Our final episode of the season. Yeah, that's right. Number 17 is our last one. And I don't know what kind of person you are with numbers, but I'm feeling my husband's anxiety that we're on number 17 and there should be at least 18, an even number, if not better yet, 20, because that would be like groups of 4. He probably doesn't care about this, but I do, because 17 is a prime number and I like prime numbers. No clue why. They're just cool. I like them. So whenever like the volume is on a prime number, that makes me pretty happy. 11 is where we usually have it, but if we can't do 11, 13 is good too. 9 is okay. You get the gist. Anyway, sorry, you have to deal with my nerdiness there. So this is our last episode of what I'm going to call the regular season, because this is our final episode wrapping up names and titles, the theme for this season. And I'll tell you about the summer and next season a little bit later, but this is it. We're ending names and titles. So before we move on to plans for the summer and the fall and anything else like that, I wanted to give you guys one correction of something that I said during the season that wasn't right. I'm sure there were a couple of things, but there was one thing that I knew I said that wasn't right, and it's been bugging me ever since that I needed to make a correction, and I finally decided to put it into this episode. So the correction is, and this is out of Names of the Land episode, I think that was episode 8 or 10, somewhere in there. And I was talking about Israel, and I just kind of off the cuff mentioned that Israel means governed by God. Our episode there was about the different names for Israel, Palestine, Canaan, and so it wasn't really a focus, but I did mention that Israel means governed by God. So I made a mistake that I wanted to let you guys know. This is a classic mistake, and I have been learning a lot this season to avoid this mistake, and that is just repeating something that I've heard from somewhere else. Even though I generally trust that source, I didn't do my own research, and I should have, because I had heard it so many times that it was one of those things, governed by God, Israel. Yeah, it must be true. Like I've heard that like 100 times at least, and I should have checked it because I never heard where did that idea come from. So I wanted to give you the correction so that you guys didn't make the same mistake and just repeat what I said somewhere else, okay? So governed by God, Israel, not true. So if you remember where Jacob got the name Israel, it was when he was coming back into the land after he had been staying with his uncle Laban and got married to Leah and Rachel. He and his whole family are moving back into the land, and he's feeling pretty scared about his brother Esau coming at him. All this drama going on. He was alone in a spot that would end up being called Peniel. And a man, and we learn later it's an angel, and we learn later that it's considered God. Jacob considers this person to be God. So we could call it the angel of the Lord. This angel wrestles with him, and Jacob does not let go. And finally, the angel punches him in the crotch. And still Jacob says, please give me a blessing. And the angel ends up giving him a blessing and then calls him Israel. And that name ends up becoming the name for the nation of Israel, which is a common tradition in the ancient Near East to take the name of a patriarch, somebody who fathered a lot of children or founded a city or founded a country, to use their name to name the nation. That happens a lot. So that name, Israel, becomes the name of the nation, but it was first the name of Jacob, his second name. Now, I heard that Israel means governed by God, and when I heard that, I'd never heard it really explained why. Why does he get that name? But if you look at it within the context with that angel, my understanding of why did he get that name, it kind of sounded to me like he's wrestling with this angel, and the angel has to punch him in the crotch to make him stop, right? He doesn't give up. He's a fighter. That's Jacob also has another meaning. We're not going to go into that. But Jacob is always this guy who's always trying to get his own. He's always trying to connive and deceive and get more. I really relate with the guy. That's kind of how I am too. I'm very competitive, and I wouldn't be happy with 12 sheep. I would want 542. Well, let's round it up to 600. Let's round it up to 1,000. With his trickery of trying to get the sheep and the goats to mate in front of the striped and the speckled rods and all that stuff. Who knows if that really worked, but that's Jacob's personality. He's always coming up with a new scheme to get more, right? So anyway, back to the story with the angel and wrestling with him. I always took it to mean God was saying to Jacob, look, I am your boss. You need to submit to me. You are now governed by God, kind of by force, kind of forcing him to submit. It's an odd idea, but that's how I understood it. So now I went into some lexicons and was reading about the name Israel because I was like, wait a second. I did not look that up. I just took what I've heard 100 times and repeated it. So I looked it up. I won't get into the grammar, but the grammar is a little bit tricky. So it could actually mean striver with God, fighter with God, or God's fighter. There's a couple of different ways that you could take this name. And it's because it's what we call a theophoric name. That means it has God's name in it. Yisrael is how you would pronounce it in Hebrew. I'm exaggerating it, but Yisrael. El is El, Elohim, God. One of the names for God, our kind of very generic name that's like our English word God. Whenever you have a name that has El or Yah in it, we call it a theophoric name. That means containing the name of God. So Samuel, Joshua, Elijah, Elisha, anything with El in it or Yah in it is a theophoric name. And they follow a pattern so that it's always translated the same way. But the name Israel is a little bit different. So it's one that we're not quite sure how to translate it. Okay? But it generally seems to have a meaning that's more like a striver with God. It's not something that God is exerting, like governed by God. It's something that the person is exerting, if that makes sense. A striver with God, God's fighter. But it just carries this meaning of somebody who fights, somebody who strives, somebody who keeps on going in a contentious way. Okay? So I was trying to think, does that have any meaning for Jacob later in his life when he gets that name? Does it have any kind of meaning for the nation of Israel that they have that name? Is it a good connotation? Is it a bad connotation? I honestly have no clue. I don't know what to do with that information. But I wanted to correct myself. It does not mean governed by God. It is not one of the names that's given a lot of credit when the options are given about which translation might be correct. And there's a couple of different options, and we're not sure which one is right. Okay? So don't go out there and say Israel means governed by God. It might mean governed by God, but it's not terribly likely. And there's other options. God's fighter or strives with God are other really good options. Okay? So that's my thing about my correction. Wanted to put that out there. So let me tell you the plan for the summer and for the fall for the podcast. Okay. So I needed to take a break for the summer because this podcast is a lot of work and I need time to read books and do research for next season. And that means, we're going to do another season. Season 2 will be coming probably in September of 2022. And we might follow the same pattern, one long, one short episode. We might switch it up. I'm not sure about that yet, but most likely we will come back in September and do another 15 to 20 episodes, somewhere in there. And I do have a theme, but I'm not telling you guys the theme, just in case I change my mind or it doesn't work out. But I thought, that's a long time to go without posting anything. Most of May, June, July, and August to not post anything. I want to post stuff. So I'm going to keep on going with just a few episodes through the summer, 1 or 2 a month. And it's not going to be about purely Bible stuff. It's going to be about language and linguistic stuff. Don't let that scare you, because I'm going to start off really basic with things that you can use just to even read a newspaper article or an article online or your favorite book, and it'll make you think about how you see language. And it'll help. It'll have a trickle-down effect for understanding the Bible, but it will be more general language, even just spelling stuff. There's some really cool stuff in language. Language tells you a lot about culture. It tells you a lot about history. There's so many cool things in language, right? It's a reflection of culture, and they play off of each other. Language affects culture, and culture affects language. It's a symbiotic relationship. And so you can tell a lot from language, okay? So we're going to do some language stuff through the summer. I'll still post it on Sundays. So if you need reminders, my Instagram account is kind of like my personal thing. It's where I post pictures of my family, where I say all the random things that are on my mind. So that's my personal one. If you're not my friend on there already, and we're not, I don't know you, don't try and friend me on Instagram. However, I have my Facebook account too. And that one I use mostly just for the podcast anymore. I don't like posting personal stuff on Facebook. So if you need reminders and you're not a friend of mine on Facebook, go ahead and friend me. It just won't be as frequent. It won't be every single week through the summer, just once or twice. In addition to that, I am not good at advertising this podcast, okay? I find it really awkward, and I am just not good at it. I don't like doing it. It just grates on me. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But if you want to share the podcast, please feel free. Feel free to repost my Facebook posts about it. Share it with friends. Send it to somebody that likes linguistic or Bible study stuff. I do not mind at all. In fact, I would be really thankful if you did that for me, because I don't like doing it. It's just one of my personality quirks, I guess. So, just a few more things, and then I'll send you guys off into your summer. I had 2 hesitations for doing another season in the fall. I really wondered if I should do it for 2 reasons. The first one is because it's a lot of work. It takes up a lot of my time. Well, no, I should say my boys take up a lot of my time. The podcast takes up a lot of my free time. I do a lot of research. I fact check myself on everything, recording, and then I usually re-record because I ramble too much when I record it the first time, and it pares it down the second time. So it's a lot of work. So I really needed to make sure that I wanted to do it again. And I finally just decided, whatever, let's just do it. So that was one reason. But the second reason that I was hesitating was because I know this is a dense podcast. It's not something that you can listen to while you're watching TV or something and I think remember it. I sure can't anyway. So it's either dense or it has a lot of information at least, right? And so I almost got worried for you guys that you couldn't hack it. And I finally realized I needed to leave that up to you guys, right? And not be your mama and take care of you and baby you. So basically, I'm not going to mama you. You can be your own adult. I'm sorry if I do that. By the way, don't be offended when I repeat myself a lot. It's not to be condescending. It's a teacher habit. It's an ESL teacher habit. I used to teach English as a second language, and to make sure that my students understood me when they couldn't understand all of the words that I was saying, I would say things usually about 3 times in different ways. So I repeat myself. Yes, I know. My husband rags on me for it. But it's not because I think you're stupid. It's a habit of mine that I can't even stop. See, how many times did I repeat that in there? Okay. So basically, if this is hard for you, if it's hard to listen to these podcasts and understand it, listen to it again. Do your own research. Take your time with it. Take notes. Do what you need to do. But guess what? Bible study is hard. It's hard for me too. I put a lot of effort into it, So don't assume that Bible study should always be easy. The Bible is a huge book that covers a different culture and civilization from 2,000 years ago, and actually several cultures, This is not an easy topic. And I don't think God expects it to be easy. I think he expects us to love him enough to do it and to care. And based on your personality, you might care more or less, or need more or need less. But it's not easy. So if you're finding it hard, don't give up. This is good stuff. It's good stuff to learn. I am really enjoying learning a lot of this stuff. I hope you are too. But yeah, you can do it. So last thing, we still have time for special requests or questions or comments, anything that you want to send my way. I only had 2 people give me any questions or ideas for topics when I requested it. 2 people. Come on, guys. And I'm really glad that one of those people sent me questions because she had some really good questions. So your input, I'll use it. I appreciate it. It's nice to get feedback, so don't be shy. And the one friend that gave me some questions, it actually fit perfectly into next season's theme and ideas, and really helped me to focus in on a few things within that theme. So I was really glad for that. Thanks, Steph. One more thing I'm excited about. Next season, we're going to have some new music. I'm super excited because this is good music and I love it. So I will look forward to doing that with you. I look forward to the summer stuff. I am dying to get started on that, but I'm forcing myself to not do it yet, to wait until at least end of May to start recording anything because I'm so excited about it. Okay, so I hope you guys have a great summer. If I don't see you before the end of summer, if you decide to skip over the linguistic stuff. And I really appreciate you guys listening. I love to hear when people talk about the podcast and tell me what they've learned because I love helping people learn. So thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a good start to the summer, and hopefully you'll hear my voice again sometime soon. And if not, have a great summer. All right, guys. Bye.